promised, a look around the T120 and the various mods that have been done to this bike. Some by the previous owner, it has to be said, some by myself. So starting at the front, we have the extended mudguard flap, which helps to prevent all the road debris from being pushed up onto the radiator. Above that we have the Puig screen. Now that screen, I will give it a 5 out of 10. You can see the angle that it sits at. Now that's great for aesthetics and it does look good, but it does very little to prevent wind buffering on the helmet. It does, however, stop you getting buffeted in the chest at highway speeds. Next we have the engine dresser bars, or crash bars if you like. There on the handlebars, if you can see it, wrapped around them is a double USB socket, which at the moment my phone, which is sat on a quad lock, is plugged into. Then of course we have the levers, which are made to collapse upwards in an accident, so not to break them. Further back we have the Windrider seat cover, and honestly that has made a world of difference to the comfort of this bike, as well as the fact that if it does rain, that keeps your backside nice and dry. The Jibby panniers, pair of, again I will give them maybe a 7 out of 10 for the panniers. Nothing wrong with the panniers themselves. If you have an accident they'll be a little flimsy and will probably break, but the reason the score is down is because they're not exactly waterproof. They're alright in very light rain, but if you had a deluge they will be letting the water in. On this side, on the dresser bar there, we have another camera mount. That one is for the Ghost XL, which isn't on at the moment, as you can see. But that, ladies and gentlemen, one more, the bar end mirrors. Fantastic piece of kit. But that, as far as you can see, is what is on it. It's not all that's on it. Some things that you can't see, such as the wires for the battery tender. When the bike goes away for the winter, the side panel comes off, the battery tender gets plugged in, fuel stabilizer gets put in the tank, cover gets put over the bike, and Bob's your uncle until spring. But that's not happening just yet. Anyway, let's get back on the road. Now I would normally end the video though with another 30 minutes or so ride, and then a like and subscribe and thanks for watching, etc. But I wanted to have a word with any new riders out there, and I'll tell you what brought this on. My daughter recently went to do her CBT course. For those not in the UK, that's compulsory basic training, which all new riders have to do before they're allowed to go for a licence. Now the instructor there, and I should say that my daughter's an adult now and has had a full car licence for a number of years, so she's experienced on the road. Now keep in mind that there aren't just adults on these courses, you get kids there as well, 16-17 year olds that are just starting out on bikes. They are not experienced on the road. They don't know the highway code, the rules of the road, or anything like that. So you would expect an instructor to be rather knowledgeable in these things. And I'm not saying he wasn't knowledgeable in the rules of the road, but his brain seems to have taken a moment out for lunch, because they learn on 125 machines, and he turned round to his group and said, really, you shouldn't learn on 125s, they're not good bikes to learn on. You should learn on a big bike. And when I heard about this, I thought, what an absolute plonker. Now I know that back in my day bikes were more powerful than they are now. A litre bike back in my day, a lot more powerful than they are now. In fact, that GL1000 I rode back in the 80s was more powerful than the T120 I've got now, even though the T120 is another couple of hundred cc's. But it is still what I would call a big bike. And is it suitable for beginners? Not on your life. Now in the UK, you are restricted somewhat to what kind of bikes you're allowed. However, at my daughter's age, and as she has a full car licence, when she passed her CBT, she can then go on to do the full A licence, which means she could jump onto any motorcycle she wished. And over my dead body would she be jumping straight from a 125 onto a litre bike. Now for those that have seen the bike journey video I put up, you'll see when I started small, I worked my way up, right up to the goal wing. Now, when I first passed my test, if I had jumped straight onto, say, the GT500 two-stroke twin, I very likely would not be here today to be talking to you all. And it seems on a daily basis I am seeing reports of bikers dying in accidents. I'm certain that some of them are kids that have passed their licence and jumped onto a machine that they are not ready for, are not experienced enough to be riding, and are just carrying way too much power. So the question is, what bikes are suitable for new riders? Well, there are a few out there. I would say cast your eye at the 350 lineup, like the Royal Enfields for example, all of which are eminently suitable for new riders. They will do highway speeds, but they're not powerful enough to tear your arms out. Also, if you make mistakes, and as a new rider you will make mistakes, they are a lot more forgiving of those mistakes, where a big powerful bike isn't. I've seen videos on YouTube where people are saying the T120 is a good bike for beginners. No, it isn't. It is way too powerful. It develops its torque very low down in the rev range, which means that new riders without the experience, especially youngsters, are just not ready when that thing pulls. And pull it can. So look, we never stop learning. As riders, I'm still learning. There are people I know who haven't had the break I haven't, have been riding 30-40 years and they're still learning. So learn properly. Start off small, learn your craft, and work up from there onto bigger and better bikes. Honestly, it's the only way to do it while giving yourself the best chance of long-term survival and years of riding pleasure. And if you get an instructor that says, oh no, small bikes are no good to learn on, here, jump on this 750, just walk away and find someone else to teach you. Because that guy is the same as those people that write instruction manuals. You know, the experts that already seem to think that you know what you're doing. Anyway, rant over. Here, have some pictures of some newbie suitable bikes, and keep the rubber on the road, people.